In this video, let us look at Python class. Class has got both variables and the methods. Methods or functions, whatever we call that. So this is the class which has got variable and method. So class CLS has got x is equal to 10 and this function defn self comma y and return y star y. That is, this function returns, we have declared this y and we are squaring it and returning it, this function. This self is automatically passed by Python, so we have to pass only one variable y to this function. So this is the class we have defined here. Now we can create an object out of this class. P is equal to CLS. So P object has been created of this CLS class. Now with this P object, we can access both the variable and the method of the class. So we are here printing P dot X. So if you say P dot, because it's an object of this, P is an object of this CLS class, you say P dot, you'll get the variables and functions of that object. So we have selected X here and printing that X. So it should print 10. Now we are selecting the function and passing 5 to this function p dot fn. We are passing 5 to this, and the self will be automatically passed by the Python. So we should pass only one parameter. So p dot fn of 5, and we are storing the whatever has been returned because it is returning y into y. We are storing it in q and printing the q. Similarly, again we are passing 6 p dot fn of 6, storing it in z and printing. Let us execute this. So initially the variable is 10, x is 10, so it has printed 10. Then we have called the function by passing the parameter 5. So it returns y into y, that is 5 into 5, that is 25. And again we have called the function by passing the parameter 6. Again it will return 6 into 6, 36. That's how we access the both the variables and the methods of the class CLS we have created using the object P. Now let us look at constructor. Constructor. So here the constructor for this CLS class is underscore underscore init underscore underscore. The constructor in Python referenced this underscore underscore init underscore underscore. So in the class CLS, there are three variables: x is equal to 0, y is equal to 0, z is equal to 0. And we have a constructor def underscore underscore init underscore underscore self comma x comma y are the parameters. So self dot x references this x and self dot y references this y. So self dot x is equal to, we are whatever we are getting here, x is by being passed to this x, and self dot y is equal to y, whatever we are getting from this constructor we are passing it to this y. Self dot y is this one, and we have a function here fn self, and here we have assigned self dot z, that is this one, to the sum of self dot x plus self dot y. Return self dot z. We are returning that self dot z after summing up this and y. And here CLS of 20 comma 30. That will call this constructor and passes this 20 to x and this 30 to y. Self, as we have seen previously, that object itself is being passed by the Python itself. So there is no need for us to do anything without the itself. We have to pass only x and y, that is 20 and 30. CLS class, we are passing in 20 and 30. So if you're not calling a function and passing it and just passing these two to CLS class, then it will initiate this constructor and these values are passed there. And we are assigning this to this p, and with p, this with this object we are calling this fn function, p dot fn, and we are calling this p dot fn because we get the help there, and then this self dot z is calculated with self dot x and self dot y and will return the self dot z. So, and we are printing it here, so it has summed up 20 and 30 and showed us the result as 50. Now let us execute and see the result. So it returns 50. So that's how we use the constructor to pass the values and get the results. Now let us look at inheritance. Here I have taken parent class and it has got a function, and I am printing function fn because this is fn. And here I have got a tail class of this parent class, of this parent CLS. This is the tail class. This has got two functions, fn1 and function fn1 we are printing here. Again the same name as fn. fn print function fn in child class. Now here I am creating the instance of this child class and assigning it to x and calling x dot fn1 function, that is fn1, and calling the fn function, and this is a child class object. With child class object I am calling the fn function, that is this fn function is there in both parent and child. So even though it inherits from the parent, because this is a child object, so the first precedence will be given to the child function. If it is printing this fn, it will print function fn in child class, otherwise it will print function fn. Let us execute this. So initially with the child class object we have called fn1, so here it has printed function fn1, and then we called function fn, so it has printed function fn in child class. Now let us comment this. So there is no fn in the child class, but we have created the child class object and calling the fn function, but there is no function name fn. But this child class will inherit this function fn from the parent class, so it should print function fn. So let us execute this, save it, debug, start without debugging. So initially it has printed function fn1 and then it has printed function fn. Function fn is in the parent class. So even though this is a child class object, x is a child class object, and then we are calling the fn function, and we don't have this fn function in the child class, but it has inherited from the parent class the fn function, and it has printed function fn. That's how the child class inherits the variables and functions from the parent class. Now let us look at multiple inheritance. Here we have two parent classes. So the child class derives from both the parents. Multiple inheritance class, parent class 1. We have this constructor. We know that you can create the constructor using underscore underscore init underscore underscore. So this is the constructor, and in this parent class 1, this constructor, the print statement is parent cls1, and we have a parent class 2, and there is a constructor and the print statement print parent class 2, and we have a child class child class, and it is inheriting from both parent class 1 and parent class 2. So parent class 1 comma parent class 2, and this has got an constructor. Here we are calling parent class 1 dot that constructor. So we are calling here parent class 1 constructor and parent class 2 constructor, this one, and here in this child constructor we are printing child class, and we have created an object of child class. So with the child class object, and the child class object has been created, then it will invoke the constructor of the child class, and the constructor of the child class is calling the parent class 1 constructor, parent class 2 constructor, and then there is a print statement child class. Let us execute this. So it has called the parent class 1, it has called the parent class 2 constructor. So because there are print statements there in parent class 1 and parent class 2 constructors, it has printed those print statements. And then the child class constructor, we have the print statement child cls, so it has printed child cls. So that's how it will derive from multiple parents, and that is the multiple inheritance. Now let us see multiple inheritance with functions instead of constructors. So we have this class parent class 1, and there is a fn1 function. We are printing parent cls1, and class parent class 2 and fn2 function, we are printing parent cls2, and we have a child class is inheriting both from parent class 1 and parent class 2, and there is no code inside this child class. We are just giving this pass statement. When there is no code, we can just say pass. So now let us create an object of child class. X is equal to child cls, and then because there are no constructors here, so this won't call any constructor. Now we are calling this function x dot fn1 and x dot fn2. So this fn1 and fn2, they are not there in the child class, but we have created the child class object and calling both those functions. So because child class inherits fn1 and fn2, it should print these statements. So it has printed parent class 1 and parent class 2. Even though there is no code in the child class, and with the child class object, we are calling the functions fn1 and fn2. It has printed the print statements in the functions in the parent class 1 and parent class 2.